Welcome back to Grim Tale Teller, where shadows hide stories that chill your bones. I'm your host, unearthing the eerie tales you send to grimtaleteller@gmail.com. Tonight, we've got a ghostly submission from 2010, courtesy of Emily, a 28-year-old choir director who claims this unfolded in Salem, Massachusetts, the heart of witch trial history. True haunting or imagination? She insists it's real, but you decide. Got a story that haunts you? Send it to grimtaleteller@gmail.com. Subscribe, dim the lights, and listen closely. This is Emily's tale of the Hollow Choir. I'm Emily, 28, a choir director in Salem, Massachusetts, back in 2010. I'd moved there for the history. Those infamous 1692 witch trials fascinated me. The church I worked at was old, built on trial grounds, with creaky pews and stained glass depicting stern Puritans. It was small, just a volunteer choir of locals, practicing twice a week. I lived alone in a nearby apartment, loving the town's spooky vibe. But that October 28th, a storm rolling in, rehearsal turned into something I can't explain. We started late, voices warming up to Ave Maria, the rain pattering on the roof. It felt normal until the echoes joined in. The church was dim, lit by old chandeliers flickering in the wind. My choir, 10 folks, mostly retirees, sang beautifully, harmonies filling the nave. Thunder rumbled outside, lightning flashing through the glass. Midway through the hymn, an extra voice crept in, low, hollow, like it came from the walls. I paused, baton lowered. "Who was that?" I asked, smiling, thinking it was a joke. No one answered. They looked puzzled, too. We started again, and it happened. More voices, overlapping ours, singing the same notes, but off-key, echoing like a distant record. The choir faltered, eyes wide. "Emily, what's that?" asked Mrs. Hale, our soprano, voice trembling. I shook it off. Maybe acoustics. The storm playing tricks. "Let's keep going," I said. But as we sang, the hollow voices grew louder, filling the rafters. Lights dimmed, bulbs buzzing. A chill swept through, like the doors had opened, but they were locked. Shadows stirred in the balcony, empty during rehearsals. I saw shapes there, hooded figures, mouths moving in sync with the song. Thunder crashed, and the choir panicked, grabbing coats. "Something's wrong!" yelled Mr. Ellis, bolting for the door. They fled into the rain, leaving me alone with the echoes. The hollow singing didn't stop. It swelled, calling my name in the lyrics. I stood frozen at this podium, sheet music fluttering in a sudden draft. The voices were everywhere, dozens now, harmonizing in Latin, but twisted, like whispers from a grave. "Emily, join us," they sang, weaving my name into Ave Maria. The chandeliers swung, chains creaking. Lightning lit the stained glass, and I saw it. Faces pressed against the windows, pale and gaunt, eyes black as voids. The shadows in the balcony solidified, figures in colonial clothes, necks scarred like nooses, mouths wide in song. My heart pounded. "Stop!" I yelled, but it echoed back, mocking. The air grew heavy, smelling of damp earth and smoke, like old bonfires. The organ hummed to life on its own, pipes groaning a low note. I grabbed my bag, running for the door, but it slammed shut, locked from inside. Wind howled through cracks, extinguishing candles one by one. The choir's voices turned pleading. Stay. Confess. Names from the trials slipping in. Bridget, Sarah, Tituba. I banged on the door, screaming, as the figures descended the stairs, steps silent but shadows long. Thunder shook the church, glass cracking in the windows. A pane shattered, rain pouring in. I shoved the door again. It gave. I burst out, soaked, the singing chasing me into the storm. I ran through the rain, streets slick and empty, the church bells tolling behind me, unrung for years. My apartment was blocks away, but the singing followed, faint in the wind, like it clung to my clothes. I slammed my door, locked it, collapsed on the floor. The storm raged all night, but the voices didn't fade. They hummed in my head, pulling at my thoughts. I called a friend hysterical, but she thought it was the weather. Morning came gray, and I returned to the church, expecting damage. The windows were intact, no shards. The choir texted, confused, saying they'd left early due to rain, no mention of voices. I confronted the pastor later. He went pale. That church was a trial hall in 1692, he said. Accused witches confessed there. Some say their spirits sing on stormy nights, seeking more voices. He'd heard it once, years ago, but dismissed it. I quit that day, packing my music and leaving Salem, but the hollow choir didn't. At night, in my new place, I hear them, faint hymns through the walls calling, Emily, join us. I've researched accounts from the 1800s of ghostly singers in that church, tied to the hanged. Was it them? Or my mind? I don't know, but I sent this to grimtaleteller@gmail.com to warn others. Old buildings hold echoes. Listen carefully. Months later, I tried to move on, taking a job in Boston, directing a secular group. No churches, no history. But the singing persisted, soft at first, during rehearsals, blending with my choir. I'd stop, ask if they heard it. They didn't. Doctors said stress, prescribed rest. I visited a medium, desperate. She sensed unrested souls tied to Salem, saying they latched on because I led songs, inviting them in. They want confession, she whispered. I laughed, but that night the voices swelled, naming trial victims, begging release. I returned to Salem once, 2011, storm brewing again. The church was empty, lights off. I crept in, flashlight shaking. The air hummed, and the hollow choir started. Ave Maria, my name woven in. Shadows rose in the balcony, figures reaching. I fled, vowing never back. Now, years later, the singing's fainter, but storms bring it loud. I avoid music halls, keep lights on. This story's my confession. To you at grimtaleteller@gmail.com. If you hear extra voices in the dark, run. They're not alone. And that's Emily's tale from Salem's Shadows, a hollow choir that turned harmony into horror. Were those voices the restless spirits of the witch trials, or a storm's illusion? The past echoes loud in old places. Thanks to Emily for sharing at grimtaleteller@gmail.com. If this sent chills through your veins, subscribe for more weekly haunts. Like if you'd stay and sing, or flee, and tell us your eeriest church story below. With Halloween closing in, our next tale will amp the dread. Until then, keep your songs solo and your doors locked. This has been Grim Tale Teller. Good night, if the echoes let you sleep.